something pretty huge just happened in the world of software security. It was a fundamental reset, really, and it all came from one massive move by Docker. So let's break down exactly what went down and, more importantly, why it matters to you. So let me ask you a question. How secure do you think the software you use every single day really is? It sounds simple, but the answer is anything but. Every app is built on layers upon layers of other software. This is what we call the software supply chain. And hiding somewhere in that chain, there can be some really serious and really costly vulnerabilities. And when I say costly, how much are we talking about? Well, get ready for this number. According to Cybersecurity Ventures, attacks on the software supply chain are on track to cost businesses a mind-blowing $60 billion by 2025. Yeah, $60 billion. That's not just some line item in an IT budget. That's a massive boardroom-level crisis that needs a whole new way of thinking about security. So, right, this isn't just some technical glitch for developers to worry about. We're talking about a $60 billion threat to the whole global economy. And a huge chunk of that risk, it's sitting right inside the tools that developers are using every single day. And this is really the heart of the matter. I mean, containers are everywhere, right? They've become the standard way we all build and ship software. Just look at Docker Hub. It sees over 20 billion image pulls every month. That's insane. So when that much of the modern world is running on this one foundation, making sure it's secure becomes, well, absolutely critical. Okay. So the stakes are incredibly high. The problem's huge. What do you do? Well, Docker's answer was pretty radical. Instead of building a bigger, more expensive paywall around their security features, they just decided to tear the whole thing down. And here it is, the big headline. Docker took their entire catalog of over 1,000 Docker-hardened images, the stuff that used to be a premium enterprise feature, and they made it all completely free and open source for everyone. This is a game changer. And you gotta appreciate the philosophy behind this. Docker's president, Mark Cavage, put it perfectly. He basically said that security can't be a luxury item you add on later. It has to be the default starting point for every single developer, baked in from the very first line of code. So we know they're free now, which is awesome, but what does hardened actually mean? What are you getting with these images that's so different from before? Let's dig in. First, just a quick refresher on this idea of the software supply chain. Think of it like this. If you're baking a cake, it's not just the recipe. It's the flour, the eggs, the sugar, the oven you use, the bowl you mix it in. It's everything. If any one of those ingredients is bad, the whole cake is ruined. It's the exact same with software. A vulnerability in any one link can compromise the entire thing. And here's where you can really see the difference. A standard community image, it's often packed with extra tools and libraries you don't even need, which just creates more places for an attacker to get in. But a Docker hardened image is minimal. It's Distroless, which is a fancy way of saying it only contains your app and what it needs to run. That's it. It strips out all the extra stuff, which dramatically shrinks the attack surface. The security here really stands on 4 key pillars. First up is a complete SBOM. Think of that as a detailed ingredients list for your software, so you know exactly what's inside. Second is SLSA Level 3 provenance, which is a tamper-proof record of exactly how the software was built, step by step. Third, authenticity. They're cryptographically signed, so you know for a fact it's the real deal and hasn't been messed with. And finally, CVE transparency, giving you open access to all the known vulnerability data. It's all about building trust by being totally transparent. So the big question is, does it actually work? Well, this chart kind of says it all. Just by switching to Docker-hardened images, developers can see vulnerabilities drop by up to 95%. That's not a small tweak. That is a massive leap forward for a team's security, and you get it right out of the box. This whole move is about way more than just Docker. It's really an attempt to reset the default security baseline for the entire software industry. And the open source community totally gets it. Jonathan Bryce from the Cloud Native Computing Foundation points out that a safer default for everybody helps strengthen the whole ecosystem. It's like a rising tide that lifts all boats. When the basic building blocks are more secure, everything we build on top of them gets more secure too. Industry analysts are seeing the ripple effects too. I love this take from James Governor of RedMonk. He said this move makes the right thing the easy thing for developers. And that's just it, right? When security is easy and free, it's no longer a chore. It just becomes the natural way you work. And the major cloud providers are already hopping on board. Google's Ryan Salva echoed that core idea, that security shouldn't be some premium add-on. The fact that they were ready to support these workloads on day one just shows how quickly the entire ecosystem is adopting this new standard. Now, okay, Docker is still a business, so you might be thinking, all right, what's the catch? If all these core hardened images are free, what's left for the paid enterprise tiers? Well, here's how it breaks down. The free tier gives every developer that incredible secure foundation we've been talking about. The enterprise tier is for businesses with mission-critical stuff. It guarantees fixes for critical vulnerabilities within 7 days and gives you compliance-ready images for things like FIPS, which is a huge deal for government and other regulated industries. And finally, there's the ELS, or Extended Lifecycle Support tier. That's for organizations that need to run older software but still need security patches. It covers them for up to 5 years after a product's official end of life. But this initiative isn't just a one-time thing. It really signals a much broader strategy, not just for Docker, but for the whole industry. This philosophy of secure by default is expanding. And what's really cool and forward-looking here is that this whole hardening method is working so well that it's now being applied to other critical parts of the modern tech stack. We're moving beyond just containers. Docker is already applying this same security-first thinking to Helm Charts, which are basically the package managers for Kubernetes apps. And get this, they're even doing it for MCP servers, the engine that's powering this massive explosion in AI agents. So by hardening these fundamental building blocks, they're not just securing today's apps, but the next wave of AI-driven software too. And that really leaves us with this final thought. When you make the foundational layers of software secure by default, you free up developers to stop worrying so much about fixing hidden problems and start focusing more on innovation. So the real question becomes, what new possibilities open up when you don't have to worry about what's hiding in your base images anymore? If your foundation is secure by default, what will you build next?